On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel's changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel's Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi. Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
You know, Doug asked a good question, which is the U.S. and Iran most likely will sign a deal later today. How do we know it'll be enforced? What will the U.S. do to enforce it? Remember when Saddam Hussein threw inspectors out of Iraq, and ultimately we had no enforcement mechanism. This is a totally different situation. We have destroyed the Iranian Air Force. We have destroyed their air defenses. They cannot stop a navy. They cannot stop a propeller plane from flying over Iran, much less a jet with fighter equipment. And Trump is sitting there with his finger on the button. And if Iran backtracks on this deal or doesn't do what he says, he simply pushes his finger on the button and the U.S. bombs. And then he can halt it, he can continue it, he can target it, he can
bet
direct
that
it.
is somewhat in the language.
But
somewhere.
That capacity to bomb or to stop bombing or direct the bombing is so enormous, and the U.S. ability to do so totally unmolested without any threat to our aircraft is so incredible that it does create an enforcement mechanism that ultimately will work.
And like I said earlier, he doesn't bluff.
By the way, while I'm here, let me talk about something else. When Trump went to China, one of the things he did was he got China to agree not to agree to a Russian request, which was to do a gas pipeline from China to Russia. Russia had asked China to let it build a pipeline that would take Siberian gas and funnel it to China and would free China from the need to be dependent on the U.S. for natural gas. Trump persuaded Xi not to do that. He persuaded Xi to turn down the Russian offer and to refuse to allow a pipeline to be built.
I'd like to know how he did that.
Which basically means that China will be codependent with the U.S. on us for liquefied natural gas. And he probably did it by undercutting the price. I'm not sure how he did it, but he did it.
Wow.
And the point is that China now cannot get its natural gas from Russia. The pipeline was vetoed. And ultimately, remember in the 90s, Trump was opposing the pipeline that sent Soviet gas to Eastern Europe and Germany. Now he's killed the pipeline that would have sent Russian gas to China. And he's increased really the extent of U.S. and Chinese cooperation, but what it really is China being dependent on the U.S. for natural gas.
Wow, what I'd like to know exactly how he did that.
I know
what is his?
We won't know for many years what he did, but he did something, and it's a gigantic, huge change. Now
Hold on. Maybe out of office we sit with them in Mar-a-Lago and say, by the way, boss, how did you do that? I'm going to ask him that.
Well, by then it'll be apparent, but it's not now. Okay, so the Republicans now control the Senate with 53 seats. And the Democrats want to take that away.
And first of all, the Democrats have no shame. this Platner guy, he wins the Democratic Senate.
Yeah, but
primary.
let me just set the context. For them to take the Senate, they have to flip several currently Republican-held seats.
2, right? Not several.
2.
I mean, not several.
3, actually. But because we have the vice president, so 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and one of them is Maine, where Susan Collins is a senator. And it looks like they will not be able to do that because they nominated this crazy guy, Graham Platner.
Graham Platner won the Maine Democrat primary for the Senate on Tuesday, setting up a high-stakes race against Susan Collins. Platner, an oyster farmer and former chair of the planning board in small town of Sullivan, has little political experience but has drawn hundreds of people to rallies around the state. He has also faced a string of controversies, that have been the focus of attacks from his rivals. Democrats see Maine as a top opportunity to flip a GOP-held seat. It's only the state with a competitive Senate race where voters supported Democrat Kamala Harris over Donald Trump in 24. O-line comments made by Platner, which he appeared to endorse political violence, dismiss rape in the military, and criticize both police officers and rural America, surfaced last year. He's also faced questions about the skull and crossbones tattoo that looks like a Nazi symbol. It is a Nazi symbol. Platner said he got the tattoo on his chest during a night of, I was drinking, I was all out of it in Croatia. He has maintained that he was unaware until recently that the image had been associated with Nazis, and he's since covered the tattoo with a different design. Yeah, I can imagine. Probably a Ku Klux Klan suit. More recently, he went on a defense amid reports that he previously exchanged sexual explicit text messages with several women while married. Platner hasn't directly denied the existence of those texts, but instead criticized the aide who talked to who ratted him out. Criticized the rat who talked to the news outlets and accused the media of running gossip. The New York Times last week reported about his relationships with previous girlfriends, some of whom described him as volatile and insulting. One woman said Platner twisted her arm during an argument and locked her in a room. Oh, my God. Platner's campaign disputed the allegations.
So Platner is not going to beat Collins. That's one seat they're not going to get.
Why? The Democrats don't care about any of this stuff.
Yeah, but the voters in Maine do. And then you have Georgia, where there's a Democratic seat, John Ossoff, and the Republicans are about to nominate Collins, who is a good candidate who's going to defeat him. And that's going to be, so it'll be.
But she's a rhino across the board. But
but it doesn't matter.
Like
she's going to vote Republican to organize.
Right.
And the Senate will be a clear flip from a Democrat to a Republican. And in North Carolina, we have an excellent chance at keeping the seat vacated by Tom Tillis, because the governor, Roy Cooper, is implicated in having pardoned the guy and released from prison, the guy who killed that Ukrainian woman on a train platform in Charlotte, North Carolina. When the court said that we had too many people in jail in North Carolina because of COVID, he released 3,500 inmates, and one of whom was the guy who went back out and killed that girl.
That was in the car. It wasn't on the platform, wasn't it? In the car, he was behind her.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the point is, those 3 seats, a pickup in Georgia and a keep in North Carolina and Maine, guarantee that the Senate remains Republican.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Probably by 54 votes this time.
Wow. President Trump on Wednesday morning declared Iran the bully of the Middle East. He said Iran has to pay the price for failing to reach a deal with the United States.
Which they will today.
Yeah, we're going to fight. Right. That's right. This is a story from 2 days ago. Right. Much of it, this is what Trump said, much of it like their Navy and Air Force doesn't even exist anymore. They have been completely defeated. Iran is all talk and no action. The bully of the Middle East is dead. Trump has repeatedly insisted Iran must agree to a deal that permanently prevents it from obtaining a nuclear weapon while curbing its ability to threaten U.S. allies in the region. Trump suggested he may be prepared to escalate pressure further if Iranian leaders continue delaying. Well, that's just as important as if they back off next week.
When you think about it, Doug,
I just really believe this, Dick.
The ability of having U.S. and UN inspectors on the ground and all that, that's all contingent on the willingness of a dictator like Saddam Hussein or the Ayatollah to agree to it. But when you have no air defenses in your country, and you have the U.S. regularly overflying your country with anything it wants, and targeting your water facilities, your power plants, your infrastructure, that's an enforcement mechanism that is hard to overcome. And I think that deal will be very enforceable.
Do you think that the people of Iran are going to rise up against this government? I don't see that either. That's why I'm asking you. Do you think that can happen?
I hope so, but I don't know.
They don't have weapons, right?
But the important point to bear in mind, well, they don't have weapons. At the moment, they don't have money or weapons.
Or water.
Because we've frozen their assets and we've cut off their oil sales.
That's the government.
But I think that there is some chance that Trump, once he has Iran neutralized by the threat of our airstrikes, may let them have some of their cash, which may permit them to fund their army in putting down demonstrations. Right now, the police force has no money, and we'll see if it continues. We have to wait and look at the text of the deal coming out later today.
Wow, I could see Trump in his deal saying, I'm not going to give you money. I'll send in troops to rebuild and to get water to your people. And I could see that happening, not giving them money. I don't see him.
We're not going to send in troops.
And I don't think he's going to send them money either.
Yeah.
I don't see that happen. I think he's going to say, if you don't want to get destroyed. But they don't care about their lives either. They're going to go to the 17 virgins or whatever, you know what I mean? So that's another thing you got to think about. Inflation outpaces earnings for a third straight month.
Now, this is bad news, and this is why Trump will do a deal later today.
Consumer inflation once again outpaced average weekly earnings for the third straight month, with prices pushing upwards by 0.47%, while earnings only grew at 0.32%, according to the latest data in the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Also, for the second month in a row, consumer prices outpaced earnings on an annual basis, with inflation up 4.2% in the past 12 months, while earnings increased only 3.7%.
Those statistics, more than anything else, is making Trump agree to a deal with Iran. But he's doing so on his terms because of his control of the air over Iran. But the inflation stuff is still driving him.
Wow. Democrat lead anti-Israel opinion shift. Opinions on the Middle East have turned against Israel in the wake of the Iran war, especially among Democrat voters. The latest Rasmussen Reports National Telephone in an online survey finds that 34% of likely U.S. voters say that, looking at the history of Israel and Palestine, they sympathize more with the Israelis, down from 42% in February, and a sharp decrease from 59%, so it's less in November.
So in November, Israel had 59%
now they
support.
Have 42.
Now they have 42. No, now they have 34. So tremendous drop in Israeli sentiment.
The shift of the support from Israel to the Palestinians has been sharpest among Democrats. In November of 23, Democrats sympathized more with Israel by a 26-point margin, 48 to 22. Now Democrats favor Palestinians by 18-point margin. This is horrible. The Palestinians.
Yeah. It's part of what we've said in our earlier stuff. The voters of America have decisively turned in favor of Trump, and the Democrats are stuck with positions that they can't possibly win in an election. And the idea that the Democrats think that they're going to get elected by telling Americans to sympathize with the Palestinians as opposed to Israel is totally and completely crazy.
All right. Listen, we're going to take a break, and let's talk about, is inflation better than reported?
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.